Hi, everybody. This is Aaron Myers at Ishmael Interactive, pronouns he, him. I am a middle-aged Latino man with a sadly graying goatee, but such is life.
Oh,
And I am joined here by our CEO, Anna Monroe, and we are going to be talking today about our first response to a federal solicitation. Anna, why don't you lead us in?
yeah, thanks. Okay, so I'm Anna Monroe. Pronouns are she, her. I've had gray hair since I was 23, so I push back on the sadly
Okay.
part.
Yeah,
It's just a different color. It's
fair,
just a different
fair.
color, and we get to use purple shampoo, and that is fun. So for all of you fellow silver people out there, like we're good. Um, but yeah, the business of the day is responding to or kind of sharing our journey in this response to a federal solicitation. That's the name, right, Aaron? They
Yep.
call it a solicitation. Okay, great. And that question to Aaron alone should tell everyone in the audience how familiar I was with this process before we started. Um, Aaron, I have to give major claps to you for this thing that you built to like sift through the Sahara level grains of sand that there are on sand.gov. Can you like, what did you do? I don't even know.
Sure, sure. So the
Okay.
primary marketplace you go to find opportunities, like you said, sam.gov, it's just a search engine where people put a ton of information about what they want. The problem
And these
is
people are like feds, right? It's like
feds,
feds are putting in a time. Okay, great. Okay,
feds who
perfect.
want contractors.
Okay.
And they are, there's no rule about how you describe a thing. So are they
Wait,
looking
there
for,
wait, there's no I actually didn't know this. You mean there's no rule. This is like the one area of the world where the federal government has not created rules or standardization.
I mean, there's some rules and there's some standardization, but there's not many checks on how you follow it. So we're a human-centered design firm who helps with enterprise management, portfolio management, CX and measurement. And when we are looking for opportunities, they might put website, they might put digital application, they might put digital property, they might put
Oh, got it.
CX, they might put UX, they might put measurement and evaluation. They can describe an opportunity a billion different ways. And those descriptions overlap with how other people are describing their opportunities, which might not be for us. So it becomes a jumbled mess. So, in order to sift through this mess, I start by putting in every single keyword that is related to us. We got back about 90,000 different responses.
We got 90,000? Oh
About,
my
yeah.
holy.
Um, Way more than we could ever entertain. No real way of prioritizing them. And a lot of them are false responses.
Got it.
So
Okay.
I built a Python
Describe
script.
those. Like, yeah,
Oh,
give me a couple of like so we're a human-centered design firm that like has a ton of experience working in digital, specifically at the intersection of like tech stacks and business processes, which is like a huge gap in any organization. Um, what was like the weirdest one that you got back, or the one that we were like, absolutely not? Was there like an aircraft carrier like reference in any of the
oh,
solicitations that
there's
you
definitely a few of those. You will always find a few of those. And some of them might be related to needing a specific technical component for the server that is going to be used to build an application that will then need
Oh,
CX work. And
okay.
this could be like manufacturing demands. We got back
Oh,
responses that were like HCD for laboratory testing on how to set up physical laboratories to get
so that's like
the
classic industrial
workspace.
design.
Yes.
I mean, honestly, if we see that again, you send it my way. That would be
Okay.
fun just to
Yeah.
read. Okay. All right.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
That's how we grow the business. We find new things and wonder if we could do them. But 90,000 responses, some of them absolutely crazy. And we had to fix this problem. It's a problem every small contractor has. And so I built a Python script to pull back descriptive text, not just from the sam.gov search results, but the links that are within those individual search results. So
Okay.
when you do a search on sam.gov, you get this little snippet of what it's about. And then you have to click within that to get a full description. And
Okay.
then within that full
Um,
description, you'll have supporting documentation that you might also have to click in to get that information.
Whoa.
So I
Wow.
wanted the
Okay.
whole kit and caboodle in order to tell things
Totally.
apart. Yes. So we went into that. We got back the whole kit and caboodle, the whole deal. We took all of that text information, we vectorized it. We applied math to it for those people who are not familiar with, the machine learning and the large language models of it all. We applied math to all this descriptive text. We applied a large language model, a very common one known as BERT, in order
Hmm.
to also find semantic meaning when words are different. So if two words are different, but they mean about the same thing, the vectorizing considers it about the same, even though they might
Right.
be just synonyms, stuff like that. And we use that along with some application of industry codes, which we found within those links in order to tell the different opportunities apart. And we narrowed it down to about 12.
Okay.
12 things that we could legitimately do, which then narrowed it down to a pool that I could just read and then pick out
Right.
three good
Yeah.
opportunities that, based upon our conversations and what I know we're capable of, I think we have a chance at. Those three I
Yeah.
passed,
And I want to hit on that point.
we get one. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I really want to like highlight that point that you've just mentioned, which is the knowledge of our capabilities and what we've talked about as a company, because what you've described is some amazing tooling, but that tooling has no meaning if you don't, as an organization or a team or company, know what you do and have like a lot of alignment between the partners around what direction you're going in. So that's something that I really have to talk through with clients a bunch. It's like if you all are not on the same page, or if you have different, even like kind of like small differences in the idea of what you all do, it's all the tooling in the world is not going to help you. And
Right.
that's how you build up tech. That is how you keep buying stuff that doesn't seem to really move you in a direction, because you have to get that like foundational understanding, like what I would think of as the thesis of the organization, right? So right now in this conversation, we just had this like illumination where I was like, oh, if there's like classical industrial design demands, we should look at that. And that's not a piece of information you knew, because that's not something that we've ever done. Now, do I seriously think that we will ever apply for a contract that involves like figuring out the HCD of a lab design? No, I'm just like kind of like interested in that because I have an industrial design degree.
Right.
But like these, we've been working together for years, and there's still so many corners of our different practices that we don't actually know. And that's why it's so important to constantly be pushing against things and not always go, our path to greatness is through acquiring this new AI system, or our path to greatness is by building a Salesforce app or whatever it is, acquiring a thing. Actually, the path to greatness for any business is in fact a tight thesis that everyone agrees upon, even as it evolves. And that kind of even as it evolves is, I think, kind of the hardest bit.
So let me give you a little peek behind my reading of those 12 to just give you one simple rule where that applies. One thing that I have to think about is reward versus time invested. How likely are we to get something? How big is the reward? How long do we need to spend to get the thing? This is something that, given enough time and enough comparison, yeah, you could probably build that into tooling. However, it is something that will change probably a few dozen times for us this year in terms of what we
Yeah.
consider a wise investment in time, what is a good incentive for a reward to try to get. And it's not worth creating that tooling so long as I can get our consideration set down to a tight 12. And that is
Right.
one way in which I am reading the solicitations among dozens of things I am considering.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you
Smart.
could program all this stuff, but at a certain point, you are writing AI about the top of a needle, and
Yeah.
it's not worth the extra juice when you could just use your eyes
Right.
and read.
Yeah, and that kind of brings it to when you passed it to me, right? You made this little like spreadsheet thing. It had three opportunities, right? And
Hmm.
I picked one. And that one was because I didn't need AI to do this. I didn't need tooling to do this. It actually did seem to be the thing that was most aligned with what I have in my brain about like what I have done in my previous practice, the people I know that we would bring on as subcontractors or new hires,
Yep.
what I know about your practice and everything we've discussed. And that was due in, I think, originally 6 days. And we actually got super lucky and they extended it out for another week. Thank God.
Yeah, we did.
Because yeah, I can only describe what I did next as like going ham. Like
Yeah.
I think I spent a total of like 30 hours
Yeah.
replying to this solicitation. It was because I couldn't find a great way to reply to this solicitation except line by line. It was like your classic federal interface where it was like all of these things are substantial. Everything in this is dense and difficult. Everything in this deserves a reply. So that is the only way I can do it.
Yes.
And I think I sent back to you after that, like however many hours of work. I think I sent back to you like 72 pages
Hmm.
of a reply.
Hmm.
And I literally, this is the part I didn't tell you yet because I kind of wanted to see if you would laugh, and I hope you do. I gave myself a hip injury last week that
What?
I had to deal with. Yes, I got a trackpad injury because I was track padding so hard because I kept on like copy pasting like every point to a Google Doc so I could
Oh
reply to
my
it.
God.
And then I typed every single line. I think there were like very pretty. It had to be less than 50% were points that I could legitimately reply to. Okay, read and understood. And it was like all the stuff that you're like,
Yeah.
you have to make sure that you like report your time. And I was like, yeah, read and understood. We know,
Right.
but like
Yeah.
everything else was like substantial. And so I gave myself a trackpad injury, and it took me like 6 runs to like work this out, and it was like all in my hip and it was in so much pain. I was like, I cannot believe a federal solicitation resulted in like a kind of like major injury.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. It's a full contact sport. Um,
Yeah.
so this brings me to some good advice I can give the listeners of the podcast. And the first thing I will say is the way we divided this is you really need a line of people who are doing the work. In our case, the line is one deep because that's how we operate, where you have somebody who is going to respond to the nature of the work. And the other person, which is me in this situation, being that I have about a decade's worth of experience in core work and solicitation evaluations, who is responsible for what is the nature of a solicitation. How do you know you have how do you pick out and find the rules to submit it, the rules to format it, the little fiddly bits, and like what is a compliance statement for things like 508 or information security? When do you need them? Those sorts of things. Because it would take the world's most versatile person to do both. It would just be too much.
Oh my God. It's too much. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
when you first suggested this journey, I was like, it seems hard. Seems hard. And you're like,
Yeah,
oh no, it's hard, but we
yeah,
can do it.
absolutely.
Um, I am super proud of what we produce. I really, in the end, enjoyed reading the solicitation. I was like, this all makes sense. I think
Yeah,
there's this like this stereotype around everything that comes out of the federal government, that it's like a bunch of gobbledygook and like time wasty exercises. I read the entire solicitation line by line and replied to them. And it can say, with standing on that authority, that whoever wrote this really had great points. The whole way through was all different.
Yeah.
I can see a bunch of ways that things can be made more efficient, but you couldn't possibly know those efficiencies unless you were actually the practitioner and the leader of the contracted group, right?
Yep.
And so what I hope is that when whoever it is or whatever group it is reads our solicitation, they can see that expertise that we can give them, and understand that I really valued, and I'm sure you do too, I really value the detail work that they put into this
Hmm.
solicitation, but I also know that we can help them,
Yeah.
um, because they don't know human centered design. That's not their job. It's my
Right.
job. It's your job. It's our team's job. You know.
Yeah. If they had somebody who could read all that detail and you were very concise and to the point, because you knew that if they had somebody who could decode human-centered design, they wouldn't need to put the solicitation out. So you do have to write from that plain language perspective. The other part of this is, even if you don't know what you're going to get, even if you don't like your odds, I think every contractor, every small business should do this at least once, because you really figure out what you're capable of. You are forced to respond to every aspect of a capability statement or a statement of work. The other thing that I'll say in terms of time saved and time spent is, our next job is to tag our solicitation, to add the metadata. And this is another piece of
Mm-hmm.
advice I give to all other small businesses: add metadata tags to what you write up so you can make future solicitations faster. And it might not be the same exact solicitation. You might not be able to use the same language, but every solicitation we respond to is probably going to have a blurb saying, we're good at 508, we test it, and we're going to use it. And
Yeah.
now with a metadata tag, I could go get that instead of writing it all over again.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. I really see that. Because what would be great as a small business, because these are so time consuming, like in the large contractors, like your Deloitte's, your Booz Allen Hamilton's, your McKinsey's, they have people whose whole jobs it is to read these and to consume them and to respond to them. And they have entire teams. Well, if you're a small business like us, you don't have that. And so what we have to do is to create the tooling through meta tags, through using these AI tools, to decrease the amount of time we have to spend responding to things that it's not exactly rote to say that, okay, we can do 508 and we will apply it, because I think everyone can ask in a different way. They might have different angles. They might write into sort of the subtext of whatever they've written, the fact that they've been burned before, or they
Right.
actually kind of don't know what 508 is, or they're going to need less help because they actually do know what 508 is. You have to read between the lines, but that takes time. And so you want to have that tooling in place so that you can be like, okay, we see this. We can use our previously generated text to do that. We will add something to respond to the text, the subtext, but I'm actually going to spend the majority of my time responding to the majority of the solicitation, or the meat of the solicitation, in a way that I simply didn't have time on this first one because we had to like start from zero. And so I'm really
Yeah.
excited about that. Um, because yeah, there's no way that I can spend however many hours it was. I mean, it felt like 50 hours. I think it
Yeah.
was probably more like 30
Yeah.
or something.
My goal is
Every
to wire up a system where your 30 hours is shrunk down to at most an 8 hour workday, tops,
Yeah, that'd be great.
and then to work
I mean,
down from that. And it's totally
yeah.
doable. It is 100% doable.
Well, cheers to that. Thanks for doing this retro with me on
Yeah.
our first solicitation. I hate to say this because it sounds so weird, but I actually enjoyed it in the end. Like now that it's over, I'm like, wow, that was really valuable. I'm so glad we did that. And in the middle, while I was giving myself a trackpad injury, I was like, never doing this again. This is horrible. you know?
Yeah. 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 We'll be submitting a lot. eventually, at a regular basis as we speed up our system. It's just something it's nice to get good at. And
Yeah,
a lot of our customers are also going to have similar needs to do this well. So it is incumbent upon us to get really good at it.
absolutely. All right. Well, thanks, Aaron. I will see you on the internet.
Awesome.
Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.